Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Minnesota, and I want to ask you a question. How many of you think that this whole social media thing is a fad? Oh, come on, I know you're out there. Who in here thinks it's a fad? Thank you. We've got one honest person. How many people think that basically Facebook is a teeny bopper hangout? Anyone? College student hangout? Oh, we've got another skeptic. Yeah, I could have called you when you walked in the room because, I can see him coming a mile away. I totally get it. I work with all sorts of farmers. And how many of you wonder what on earth Twitter has done to the English language? Because if you can tweet your twibe as a part of a twub while you're using tweet later and tweet deck, you've got it all down, right? We'll spend some more time talking about the Twitter vocabulary at this afternoon session, which I would strongly encourage you to come to. If you are in here at Farming Your Online Community, there is actually a handout that I would encourage you to grab, and Diane's helping hand those out. Thank you very much. Basically, this is a compilation of a number of writings that I have done about agriculture and social media. Here's the scoop on my background in social media. 2 years ago, I thought it was the dumbest fad I had ever seen. About a year ago, I actually had a client, Iowa Farm Bureau, who forced me kicking and screaming. They're one of my longest standing clients, and they forced me kicking and screaming to start teaching people what I had learned about social media. That's the big strategy behind what I do. This is what I have learned, my friends. In 8 years of working as a leader in agriculture advocacy, there is no better tool that I have ever found next to face-to-face communications than social media and telling agriculture's story. The fact of the matter is that social media is where the eyeballs are. Whether or not you think it's a fad, or whether you not agree with it, or whether or not if you think that Twitter is a bunch of goo-goo, I don't really care, folks. You cannot hit 350 million people at the end of your driveway, unless you live in a place that I've never been at. Fair enough? So as I was saying, social media to me really is not about us doing a fad. It's not even about us doing a marketing. It's flat out simple. How many of you want the Humane Society of the United States of America, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and the Environmental Working Group to be telling your story? I see no hands go up. That in itself is why you have to be either on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Pick one and run with it. I don't care which one it is. I only have 50 minutes to try to share some of these tips about these tools with you. There is a whole barrage of links on your handout, some of my favorite resources. There is a fabulous guide that the Ohio Farm Bureau did about getting started in social media. It is actually on my first page. I highly recommend that you take a look at that guide to getting started. If you're a person who wants a manual, do we have any manual users in here? You like to look at manuals? Or do we have people who just grab duct tape and do stuff? I'm a duct tape and let's just do it. I'm 100% self-taught in social media. I am not a social media expert. I just happen to know how to get communities to work well on agriculture's behalf. And I'm glad to share those lessons with you. And the first thing that I have found is that this is not about technology. I don't care if you think you're technologically savvy. I don't care if you think that you're terrible on a computer. This is about changing mindsets, and it has to start with you. Because I think this diagram, which they actually just updated yesterday, states it extraordinarily well. You can be an inactive, you can be a spectator, you can get really ticked off when you see another piece that's probably going to come out tonight on Nightline from ABC that's demonstrating how terrible farmers treat their animals. This one's dairy, so you can all breathe a sigh of relief if you want to from the pork side of the business. And you can sit there and you can watch and you can get really ticked off and not do anything about it. What my goal is to get you to move up this ladder where you not only become a joiner and you start going to the different sites and collecting information, but that you actually come up to at least a conversational standpoint. Because you see, if you're not a part of the conversation, rest assured there are many people out there, millions I would say, that are putting a face on what you do in the pork business. You beat your animals, you put them in cages, you do terrible things to them. And if your face is not on that food plate, they're never going to know the difference in it. In my opinion, that's why social media is absolutely so critical and why we really have to be able to change the temperament. Now, if I can get the remote to work well, we'll be doing great. For those of you that are skeptics and you want bottom line results, here it is in black and white. Twitter drove Dell sales over $7 million, specifically from Twitter alone in their campaign. You know what they said? There wasn't any strategy. We learned about it as we were going along. The Red Cross just last week, and I actually didn't get a chance to look up the number, in 24 hours they raised over $800,000 through a text messaging campaign that was proliferated through Twitter and Facebook alone. Within 48 hours, that number went over $5 million to raise aid for Haiti. If that doesn't show business value to you and the use of technology, and I've seen the statistics on how many large operators use technology here as far as text messaging and so forth, social media is not so very different than that. Okay, so you want to take a look at why Wall Street Journal actually this morning just reported that over 2/3 of Americans now are getting on Facebook and Twitter. This number is a little bit older. It showed 4 out of 5, and it is showing that they are they're using some form of social media content. And I'm sure there's no Viking fans in here, right? I probably shouldn't share my opinion about what Brett Favre has done with his career, and I'll just leave it at that. But nonetheless, of particular interest to you, the TV station that broke the news that he was becoming a Viking did so on Twitter because they did not want to be scooped. Factual information. You can look at what USDA is doing. You can look at where the advertiser dollars are falling. The reason why I share all of that with you is because what social media has done is unquestionably changed our culture. The good news for agriculture is it gives our voice equal power to CNN. It has made news more circular, more user-driven, more from the ground up rather than top-down. And that's the value, is you can have the same power, in fact, probably even more than a major corporation. Because social media is about what? And if you can reach out and shake somebody's hand and say, I'm proud to be a Minnesota pork producer, then you surely can share messages in 5 minutes on Facebook. So let's talk about some of the different ways to be able to look at those. The reason why this matters to agriculture is very simple. As I have already shared, there are a lot of conversations that are happening. There are campaigns that have been very successfully executed. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you are on, you have to respect what the Obama campaign did with first-time voters and voters under the age of 25. You know how they did it? The founder of Facebook left Facebook to run online operations. It's a fascinating story. If you ever want to look at it, it's in Fast Company, but it's clearly grassroots driven, and it unquestionably moved him into the presidency. And there's a lot that can be said about that, but I'll leave it at that. The fact of the matter is 1.5% of this population in our country, in the United States of America, less than 1.5% of people are on the farm. Believe it or not, what you do in agriculture is a novelty. There is a lot of information that's flowing, and if farmers aren't a part of that mix, then it's our loss, because it's our chance to get out there and be proactive rather than reactive. Facebook did actually reach its tipping point over a year ago, and Twitter is actually reaching its year anniversary for the tipping point as well, and we'll spend some more time on those statistics this afternoon. I thought this would be particularly interesting to you. I actually found this just the other day. Nielsen Company, if you're really into social media, Nielsen is one of my favorite research. But they did a piece on swine flu, which I never call it, but they did, you can see here, and the buzz that has been created through Twitter, blogs, groups, and boards. And what I think is particularly interesting is to take a look at it peaked, but then you look at Twitter, and anybody who is on Twitter will probably attest to this, that you see a fairly regular noise volume about swine flu, and now a lot of people are calling it H1N1. And if you're a part of the agriculture community, you know how hard people have worked on Twitter to call major news outlets and others out. But then if you lay this graph on top of it, and you all know this better than I do with the economics in your checkbooks right now. The reality is, if you're in the hand sanitizer business, H1N1, great business opportunity. Opposite end of the spectrum, pork. So you all get why you need to be part of social media now, right? It's about protecting your bottom line. And I will tell you that social media unquestionably, in my opinion, and others here can argue with me, but I do believe that social media drove the buzz about H1N1. You look at today's social media landscape, actually Facebook in December exceeded the United States population, 350 million users. You can look at the numbers on there. When I found out about a year and a half ago, at that point 75% of Facebook users were beyond college age. At this point it's 66%, is when I decided that perhaps there was just a bit of a business opportunity there for all of us. It is not a college playground. We'll talk about some of the numbers here and Facebook specifically, but you can see at the bottom found that the use of social networking by people in the 35 to 54-year-old group actually grew 60% last year. Twitter, that is not a typo, did grow nearly 2,000%. It has now plateaued somewhat. Obviously, it cannot keep up with those astronomical growth rates, but the fact of the matter is it is an incredibly quickly growing tool. And YouTube, how many people have been on YouTube in here? Probably all of you. How many of you have ever been on YouTube for a serious business reason? Good. The rest of you go there because it's fun, right? It's cool. Well, we'll talk in a little bit, if we have enough time, about a dairyman down in Alabama who has no high-speed internet access whatsoever. He shoots MooTube minutes on about a week to 2-week rotation, and he uploads it through his smartphone. He sings from his tractor about manure and urine. 9,600 hits, my friends. You think there's not an interest and you think you can't make agriculture fun, that's a whole nother advocacy discussion. See me afterwards, I'll be glad to give you all sorts of tips. Remember, 98.5% of our population don't get what you do, okay? You can do YouTube too, you can make it fun. How many people have eBayed on here? You all have been a part of social media. How many of you have used blogs? Yep, you're a part of social media tool. And in all sincerity, I know that there may be some of you in this room that keep hearing so much about social media that you might just be a little bit freaked out about it all. Let me just tell you this, it's not rocket science, it's very simple. You've actually been using Web 2.0 and social media tools. I put this up here just so you have it as a reference point. You'll hear techies talk about Web 2.0. Oh, and there's Web 0.30. You can see the Wikipedia definition. My definition is this, flat out and simple. Web 2.0, today's internet, is about you driving the information that you want to your computer. It's not about you going out and finding 10 different blogs every morning to check the weather and check the market and check the latest technology information or technical information you need for your farm. That's not what it's about. And if you're still using the internet the same way that you did 5 years ago, I would suggest that you take a look at things like RSS feeds and news readers. And it is an amazing tool to be able to drive information to your desktop and to create a community. You had mentioned that's what really the internet is today and social media is, but it is about creating a community that you can be able to interact with. As I'd already shared, we do have a number of adversaries that are obviously working against what we do in agriculture, right? I'm sure you all dream of having PETA come onto your operation, as some Minnesotans have had down in Iowa. And I'm sure you love seeing a hog beat on the nightly news, don't you? Fact of the matter is, HSUS has been incredibly active. They have increased their Twitter following nearly 40-fold at this point since January of 2009, according to my Cause Matters research. If you're coming in, there's plenty of room. There's handouts back here, so grab a handout. I think there's some at the back table now. And there's plenty of chairs up front, and I promise I don't bite, and it's not church, so. All right, so Wayne Pacelli, everybody's buddy, right? Everyone know who Wayne Pacelli is? Very Cosmo, very good looking, very debonair, very well spoken, incredibly articulate. Far more attractive than a farmer talking, right? Wrong. But he will use his blog to proliferate all sorts of good stuff about what you're doing. PETA, the same, 28-fold increase on Facebook in the last 6 months alone. You go down the list, Greenpeace, you see the same thing happening. Farm Sanctuary, you see the same thing happening. And they, by the way, if you're not familiar with Farm Sanctuary, they're headquartered up here in Minnesota, aren't they? Anyone know? They're either New York or Minnesota, but they worked with the Humane Society of the United States on Proposition 2. Very grassroots-driven organization. And so what I've done is basically tracked all of these to see what's being said against agriculture. Does this concern anyone in here? My point of putting it up here is to drive you to one of the social media tools that we're going to talk about. And to further this, these are some people, mostly farmers actually, ironically, that are talking about the value of social media to their business. You can see this actually, the Glenn Groth one comes from my Facebook, having HSUS dictate what happens on your farm, an activist group stop a proposed farm expansion, or having a local unit of government ban certain crop protection products seems pretty hurtful to the bottom line in mind. If you're a skeptic, here's your answers. This hog guy, Show Pigs. Jenna, do you remember where Show Pigs is from? I don't remember either, but he was the first one when I tweeted out a question. All of these black boxes are from my tweet deck. Responses, and my question was, what do you feel the value is to your bottom line as a farmer? Show Pigs actually, and Brothers 3 Swifts, both sold animals because of their Facebook and Twitter activity. So beyond the advocacy opportunity, there's a very clear marketing opportunity. I will tell you, in 8 years of business, I have never seen a better marketing tool for my own business, Cost Matters Corporation, than anything. All right, so we're going to jump to it. Facebook. How many people are on Facebook? How many people are on Facebook but don't really get it? Okay? And it's interesting because you ladies represent the largest growing demographic, I would guess. At least a couple of you do. When you look at it, you can see it started in 2004. Started as a college tool, but think about that, folks. 5 years' time, look at what it's done. And I'm going to show you some population facts that will blow your mind. There are over 350 million users, and you can see, as I talked about, that 2/3 are beyond college age, 2/3 are out of the outside of the U.S. And bingo, the largest user group on Facebook is not college students. It is ages 35 to 54. Consumers that you want to influence are what? And by the way, I just saw a study yesterday that I didn't get integrated in here. Women that fit into this age group are those that are the most active as conversationalists in social media. Conversation means that they like to receive information from people they're having conversations with. You get the hint? Okay. 922% growth in users over 55, as we had talked about that. That's a January. That is a very current statistics. It does continue as our top social networking site, and it is still the #1 site for ages 17 to 24 or 25. But the big question is can Facebook stay cool when grandma is on it? And I mean no offense to anyone, but for example, we coach 4-H teams back in Indiana, and I'm connected with all of them on Facebook, and I get after them for things they put on there. Because if you're dropping the F-bomb on Facebook and you have a future employer, that's ridiculous. And you should honestly be sure that you're helping the young people in your life understand how to use social media so that they're protected and so that they are professional. Population facts. This is fascinating to me, and I'm not an economist by any stretch, but it took telephone nearly 90 years. It took the TV nearly 40 years and cell phones nearly 15 years to reach 150 million users. Facebook did it in 5 years. You still think it's a fad? I don't think so. It's bigger than the Super Bowl audience, and obviously, as we've talked about, it's larger than the United States. All right, we are going to bounce there. This is actually, if you want to write this down, in my latest, if you follow my blog, I actually put up a video blog. This particular individual is just retired as the president of Indiana Pork. Randy Curless is his name. He told me, and I quote, after he had attended my Pork Leadership Academy session for the National Pork Board, a couple of years ago, he contacted me over Facebook about a year and a half ago, and he said, Michele, I got every word that you were saying at the Pork Leadership Academy, but I've never been comfortable with a microphone. Facebook is my microphone. And he does an incredible job on it. And I'm going to share with you a couple of reasons why I think he's really good. How many people in here are not on Facebook? Can I just get a sense of that? And don't be embarrassed. It's okay. Mostly men. Okay. I'd like you to take note of a couple things that he has done, because I know Facebook has the reputation of, a bunch of broads standing around talking at the coffee shop about nothing, right? It can be that if you choose for it to be. I use mine purely professionally because of concerns with activists. I have no personal stuff on there. I do think it's a very nice personal tool to stay in touch with your friends. My friends all get why my Facebook is very professional. And I'll put once in a while personal things on there, but not any pictures of my family or anything. Liberty Swine Farms, if you just go up and where you can search is always in your upper right-hand corner. And so if you just type in Liberty Swine Farms, if you want to be able to find them. And you need to understand that the search function in Facebook actually recently updated, and it is now nearly as powerful as Google, because it integrates Google. It not only searches Facebook, it searches the entire internet. If you're on Facebook, I strongly suggest you check out the search tool. And so if you go down to Liberty Swine Farms real quickly, and by the way, I'm sorry that I'm talking so quick, but to speak about this in 50 minutes is a little bit difficult, so I'm trying to jam in as much as I can. I'm just going to jump to Randy's photos here, and this is where he talks about, this is a photo album where he talks about employees as the lifeline of their business. And Randy has a very modern operation. You can see that he is working with a guild, or his employees are working with a guild here, and he's talking about checking them for heat. Basic everyday business in your world, right? You think it is to somebody who's a block away in Minneapolis? And what do you think their impression is when they see HSUS videos and they've never seen anything like this? That's why these photos and why these captions are so important. And to bounce back real quickly, the 3 relevant areas to Facebook, and I'm going to go to my homepage and I'm going to hope and pray that no one has put anything embarrassing on here, because that's always the big question, but most people are pretty professional usually. So just to give you an idea, and my audience is very, very diverse, or my friends are very diverse just because of virtue of what I do. Andy Vance, Don, I see you're sitting there. You know Andy, he's a farm broadcaster in Ohio. This is another professional speaker. This is a lawyer in New York that I've connected through AgChat. Another professional speaker who is also on the TV. This is a dairy person in New York, and so forth and so on. So you can see that the friends, you get updates on your homepage. A quick tip for you, if you have not changed your settings from when Facebook did their last update, they majorly screwed it up in my opinion, you can actually change so that your news feed, Kevin, this might be something that you haven't done yet, but if you click on this news feed and you see those little lines come up on the right side there, you can drag it up to the top. So rather than just having the status updates, it brings in all of your news feeds, meaning that it brings all your page updates and your group updates and everything. Facebook does tweak it every once in a while and they screw it up, but if you go and you monkey with it, you can usually fix it back to the way that you want it. But the 3 places that you really need to be concerned with on Facebook is your personal profile. So for example, this is my personal profile. Kevin, can I bring yours up? Kevin and I are friends on Facebook because we met socially through Farm Bureau friends. And so this is Kevin Papps, president of Minnesota Farm Bureau, and he does use his both for personal and for professional reasons, right?
A little bit.
Yep. And can I share the story of how it got set up?
Sure.
Kevin was not comfortable with doing setting up his Facebook, but very much wanted one. And you basically negotiated a deal with a teenager or college student?
With the 4 ambassadors, some which are in this room.
Oh, who's it? Who did it? Raise your hand. Who is it?
Should be in this room.
Oh, they're not. They probably figured they knew it all. But in any case, that is, you know, if you're just not comfortable with this, then have somebody on your operation, particularly if you have a live operation, have an employee take it on. It does not have to be a time waster, okay? And it does not have to infringe upon your privacy. Those are the 2 things that I know people are concerned about. 15 minutes a day is what I'm asking for. If you can't give 15 minutes a day to protecting your good image, then don't talk to me 5 years when you're out of business. Sorry, that's the cold reality of the society we live in. Do I like it? No. Do I wish I didn't have to tell you that? Sure. But that's the reality of where we live. So 15 minutes a day. Personal profile is just where you can put in your photos and you can put in all of your, you have a lot of friends. Kevin's very popular. And you can, and I'll quit embarrassing him, but you have a variety of things. And then there are actually pages, fan pages. So I'm going to just by virtue of demonstration go to, this is my fan page, which seems incredibly egotistical, but it's basically like a web page on Facebook for a business. And you can see that I'm going to update live right here. I can't talk and type at the same time, it's a problem. You want to say anything to everybody out there? They say good. Usually I get a Go Vikings or something like that. Our pastor at our church really hopes that the Vikings and the Colts meet up for the Super Bowl. We'll see. Okay. All right, so this is going to go out to I think I have about 700 fans on my Facebook, so it'll go out to the 700 fans. Not difficult. Took me all of about 30 seconds. Would have taken less if I wasn't yakking while I was typing. And you can see that I have a number of feeds that go into this. So this is a fan page, and again, it's basically exactly what it sounds like for people who follow different, who like to follow what you do. I make it most like a website. There's also a group. A group function you can actually make private. It is a very useful tool if you, for example, are in a leadership program that wants to carry on conversations. There's a number of the state ag leadership programs. I don't know if Marl has their own group, but you can have a private group. This is Ag Chat, which is a weekly conversation that happens through Twitter that's attracted about 800 people from 6 continents to talk over 2 hours every week. It's a phenomenal tool, and this is kind of the home. This is a public group. Okay, this is not a private group, but just to give you an idea. So I'm going to bounce around here, and please raise your hands and shout out any questions because I will be glad to. But there's a few key places that I want to be sure that you know where to go. Number one is the search function. So let's just say for entertainment purposes, we'll put in Minnesota pork. If I could spell, that would be very helpful, wouldn't it? Oh, look, who popped up? It's Trudy. Trudy was in and out earlier. Well, hello, Trudy. So it's finding people. It's finding groups, Minnesota Pride, I don't know what that is, and it found National Pork Producers Council. And so it went through, and it's finding people, it's finding pages, it's finding groups, and it's finding posts. Oh, and look, remember what I said earlier? It's a very robust search engine that actually one day in December exceeded more hits than Google. You have web results. So when you are in Facebook, it's not just about connecting with people. It's also about being able to find the information you're looking for. And if you clicked on that, it'd take you out there. I'm not going to do that right now. But what this also tells me, and I mean no disrespect to Minnesota Pork, but that they probably need to have a presence on Facebook as well. That could be a fan page, it could be a profile, it could be a group. So for example, Indiana Dairy, which by way of full disclosure is actually one of my clients that I've worked with to build a social media hub, they have done a very good job about connecting their Facebook, their Twitter, their YouTube, and their LinkedIn accounts. And they've actually created a whole hub, and as a result, they've had all sorts of media attention by people that they've never had connections with. And you can see that this was updated from a mobile phone here. Oh, actually, excuse me, that was a different one, and you can see they have all sorts of information fed in. So that was the search function. The other one, this is a nugget for those of you that perhaps are more advanced Facebook users. You can automatically have your Facebook updated from your Twitter account. You can automatically show your favorites from YouTube, and you can automatically feed in videos from your YouTube account as well as connect it to your LinkedIn. I'm not going to go through all that. Where you do that is in applications. You simply go to applications and you start searching for those. And my rule of thumb is to use the application that is used by the greatest number of people and has the highest rating, because you'll usually be okay by doing that. The other third spot, and then I'm going to pause for questions, so get your questions ready. I use this, I'm not embarrassed to tell you, on a weekly basis. The help function at Facebook is extremely robust. If you are a new user, I strongly suggest that you go here and that you find the new user suggestions and go in here and type, you can type in setting up a fan page, you can type in how to friend people, so forth and so on. Facebook, I do want to say, is only a permission-based system. People cannot friend you unless you give them permission to do. For example, my personal policy is that I will accept friend requests as long as people can tell me where they heard me spoke or why they're interested in my work in agriculture. Again, I have activist retaliation concerns, so I'm pretty diligent about that. But the place where, and I lied when I told you that was the last place I want to tell you, privacy settings are very, very important. For those of you that have concerns, and I do strongly recommend that you never give your address. If you're using Twitter and you're using a BlackBerry, you need to be sure that you have my location turned off, because it actually will automatically send out the GPS of where you are. I don't really think that's intelligent, frankly. But you can set your different profiles, and you can actually set your different apps and your photo albums and so forth so that not everybody in the world can see them. My recommendation, if you're interested, is typically friends or friends of friends, because otherwise everybody on Facebook can see it. All right, I'm going to pause. Any questions about Facebook? If you're using Facebook and you have questions about how to do something or a question about the relevancy or any of that. Yes, sir.
I don't be some kind of electronics.
Yes.
My question is this. Do you think along the way, I don't think we've reached this yet, but is there a fatigue factor here somewhere?
The question is about fatigue and the use of social media, and I think the answer is obviously yes. People try to get me to talk about how much time I spend on social media, and I typically won't answer the question because I'm not asking anyone to do that, because I'm trying to set the pace. As far as younger audiences, I mean, teenagers today, Facebook isn't that cool because they've always had it. You know, my daughter will never not know a world without social media. Where we are with social media today is last year was kind of the wild woolly frontier. It went beyond just the tech heads and into the early adapters. This year it's become mainstream. Quite frankly, I don't think it's as fun as it used to be. One, because of the fatigue, but two, because it does get crowded. What is essential is that you find the tool that works best for you and that you build a community around that. I do believe social media is here to stay. Will Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube look the same 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? No. I don't have the answers of where that's going, but I think the key is to be able to take the opportunity with the mass population that is there and that is actively using it today. Because, again, there's no better tool for our industry to be able to reach out and connect with people. But good question, thank you. Yes, sir. The skeptic, the Nebraskan. Yes, I pay attention.
Comment on the longevity of some of these sites. Maybe talk about how MySpace was.
Sure.
It's not cool anymore now.
Yep. I'll be glad to. Facebook is actually operating in the black. It has been for a number of months and is very well funded. And they are primarily driving it very similarly to the way that Google is driving it, and it's through these little ads that are over here on the right. And I will tell you, I've tested a little bit on that, and it amazes me what people click on. So Facebook is actually operating in the black. Facebook is unquestionably a keeper. What's happened with MySpace is that it has turned primarily into the audio playground, the entertainment playground, and is primarily teenager. And if you look at the numbers, MySpace went like this, and Facebook went like this. They're not exactly. And then Twitter went like this and this. Well, actually, Twitter went kind of, and then it skyrocketed. Twitter does not yet have a business model that is operating in the black. There is a lot of questions about where that's going. Some people think that business users will be seeing fees. Other people think that there is advertising that's coming. The reason why I think that the business models that we currently have won't exist tomorrow is because they obviously need to have a sustainable future. But the reality is with the numbers that they have, far greater numbers than what, again, the cell phone, the TV, or the telephone had, they'll be here. Do I expect that there will be some mergers? Probably. It's very interesting, though, if you track statistics, that we all as a society in North America and actually worldwide are more comfortable with online advertising through social media than any other form of marketing. These little ads over here don't bother us. On Google, they don't bother us because we've gotten used to them. And so if social media can figure out how to use those, they can make some dollars at this. So, all right, any other questions? Some great big picture questions. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but I always thought a great reality show would be about agriculture and to have a different sector.
Oh.
And you can do this on here now.
That's a fabulous segue, because actually this is talked about in Ag Chat all the time. And I'm not a techie, so I don't know how to create, and I don't game, and because there's gamers, right? That's what they call them. But on Facebook, that is actually great, is that Facebook Farmville. Any of you play Farmville? Okay. Seriously. Oh, look at these boys. They don't want to raise their hands. All right. So, all right. No, seriously, teach me here, because I don't get. Farmville is in the top 5 number of applications, used applications on Facebook. Hello, can we spell opportunity? But farmers love Farmville. Why do you guys play it? Okay, I don't think they play it. Does it make you feel good because you feel like you can control that more than your own farm? Is that what it's about? You can't lose. It's not real. No, but in all seriousness, if we as the ag business could be able to take a Farmville and make it be cool. And I've been talking about this in my advocacy training for years. I mean, you've heard this before. If we can be able to hit the hot buttons of kids and be able to actually build in facts around Farmville, and there's tons of adults. I know, for example, the executive director of Michigan Soybean, she's always wanting stuff on Farmville. She wants somebody to do something with her hogs so she could do, and I'm like, I do not understand this. But that is actually an incredible opportunity, you're right. And I don't know how, we need to connect with some programmers and some techs to be able to do that. Farmville? Well, I can't because I'm not on it. If you go down to applications on your Facebook and you search Farmville, it is a game, is the best way to describe it. And you go in and you farm. I mean, I don't know if you guys have a very concise way of yeah. I mean, you guys... Oh, look, they're on it, too. Do you have anything to add about Farmville? It's really... Okay, why? Do you farm? No, like for real. Listen to her.
My parents used to raise pigs, but not anymore. And then we still have friends raising.
Okay, so you've got the connection. Interesting. Yeah, it is a huge opportunity. But go down to applications on that lower left, like I showed you. You can search any applications. I mean, there's like scrapbooking things, and there's all sorts of foo-foo things, and there's new applications that are being added all the time. I'm sorry, I'm not really good at them because I don't play any games. And not because they're not interesting, I just don't have the time. Yes?
I have a question around that, because that's one of my frustrations with Facebook is when I go on and then the news feed has different things of the people that are playing the games, and you get notices.
Oh, yeah. Oh, best tip of the day is right here. You can hide things. You see how I have no gaming crap coming up in mine? Sorry, I don't mean any disrespect, but I just don't like to have the foo-foo stuff. And I can't even find one because I've got them blocked so hard. But I'm not going to actually do this. But let's say if I'm tired of hearing about Andy. Andy's annoying me. And I actually do have, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but there are some people who just update too often. And I don't need them in my stream. No. Actually, I will tell you, Kevin is so good. I don't know how you picked this up. I updated my status that I was headed to Minnesota and excited about it. And Kevin's like, well, are you coming to Taste of Elegance? On my Facebook. And so we started having this whole conversation about it. And I admired the fact that he did actually pick up on that. It is... sorry, Andy. Okay, so that was an example of how you could undo really quickly. Okay. Yeah, I have a tendency of doing that, clicking. All right, so Robert, if he's annoying me, I just click on hide. You see, and what I'm doing is I'm scrolling around here, and then you see over here it pops up that little box. These little boxes do amazing things. And so when you have people that are gaming, you can actually come in and you can do hide all Farmville updates, hide all whatever. If that makes sense. You can hide people, you can hide apps, you can hide games. Does that make sense? And it's also important that you understand, should you get into the situation where you have flamers or antagonists, in your privacy settings you can block people, and yes, I have blocked people from even seeing that I have a Facebook that exists. So you can actually do it. So there's as much flack as Facebook gets about being able to manage your privacy. If you keep an eye on it, it's not that hard.
Michele, what do
Yes.
we do with the friend requests from people we don't have a clue on? We want to get the word out, we want to expand
Sure.
our networks, but if they don't send a message with me, I mean, I'd be friends with everybody in this room, but I need to know, I don't know who they are.
Do you really think they want to be your friend, Kevin?
I don't think so, but it sounds like...
No.
But we want to get the word out to people we don't know. It doesn't do any good to talk amongst ourselves.
Right. The question...
We don't know who they are.
The question was how to respond to friend requests when you don't know this. I get a lot of these. Unfortunately, I get tons of them from other professional speakers, and it annoys me greatly. This is my policy. I highly recommend that you establish the same policy for your Facebook, too. My policy is if I don't know someone, if I don't recognize their name, they get a message. Thanks for your request. I'm having a hard time placing you. Have we met, or do you have a vested interest in agriculture? You might also be interested in my fan page, and I include a link to it. If they respond and say, hey, Michele, I saw you 5 years ago when you were here for the Minnesota Agribusiness Council, or AgriGrowth Council, and I want to follow your stuff, then I accept their friend request. I also go in their profile and make sure that they're not a PETA person. If they don't respond and they have no mutual friends and I can't check them out with anybody, I do this little magical thing that's called ignore, and they go away. And I suggest you do the same thing. Because you need to decide how far you want to go with your Facebook. And if you do want to work on getting the word out and you feel like it's your opportunity to do that, then accept all the friend requests, but just make sure you don't put any personal things on your Facebook. So, yes, Jenna.
There's also an option now, if you don't know the person, you click ignore, you can report them to Facebook.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Those persons who you don't want them to be your friends, you can report them.
The other option, too, and then we have to move on because I'm going to run out of time here, and Trudy is with us, and she'll beat me if I don't finish here. So, but the other option is you can actually group your friends. So, for example, I have acquaintances, I have ag chat friends, I have industry friends, I have my inner circle of personal friends, and you could actually put them on your different lists and group them, and then your updates can be for a specific group. You can designate, and that's a little bit higher level. If you need some help with that, Kevin, just let me know, and I'll sit down with you. But I do suggest grouping if you start getting over. I mean, I'll be honest, I think I have 700 and some odd friends. I can't keep up with the stream. It's impossible. So you do have to start working with groups to manage it. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter, please? Jenna, put your hand up there and be proud. She's a great Twitter user. And Kevin, I see on once in a great while. Here's what it is Twitter is a service, okay? It's a service where you get to talk for 140 characters. We've already talked about the numbers behind it. What you need to know is that 27 million tweets were sent daily. 27 million messages sent a day. Even if you believe that 40% of those tweets or these 140 character messages are noise, do the math, and I think you'll probably find a fair number of relevant tweets. This afternoon at 1:30, I will be doing an entire session on Twitter, so I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time on it. This is the way that I suggest that you frame Twitter, is it is a global cocktail party. It's a huge coffee shop. It's a big grain elevator where you get to go and you hang out with people that share similar interests. You exchange a whole lot of information. It just happens to be virtual. All right? That's all that it is. And the hashtags, which is the number sign, kind of drive where you go in the conversation. I will tell you this. If you are a producer of the male orientation, in particularly, who likes information, likes technical information, and likes information overload, start with Twitter, not Facebook. I have changed my recommendation on this over the last few months because I started seeing more and more farmers on Twitter, and when I started inquiring about it, they actually told me it's because they could find the information on Twitter, and Facebook just seemed like a bunch of people talking. Okay? Twitter is not as intuitive as Facebook. Fair enough? Jenna? Kevin? It does take some grasping to get a hold of, but I want to show you the types of conversations that we have. This is actually Mike Versteg, who's down in Iowa, and I just happened to catch this conversation a couple months ago. This started down here. These are actual tweets that are finding up here, and you can see that Mike said, I get to apply organic pig manure. He has a modern operation here, to fields today, fertilizing for next year's corn crop. And then I see this question come up from this guy who's in New York City, Women's Wear Daily writer. He's the editor, and he's covering all this stuff for, and sorry, it cut off here. And he said, why was I under the impression that pig manure didn't break down or something? And he retweeted the farmers, which is basically a forwarding of the message. So this message went out to all of his followers. So he, I think, had about 5,000 followers. Pretty big deal. And so this farmer started talking back and forth with him. Mike said, well, it's the best fertilizer. It helps build organic matter. If we don't use pig manure, we have to purchase fertilizer, which is made with petroleum, less dependence on foreign oil. So probably hit a hot button here of this guy in New York City. And I didn't show Ross Tucker's comments, but by the end he said, this is great. I had no idea. Thanks for the information. So that shows you how the conversation takes place in Twitter. This took, let's see, I would say 10 minutes of Mike Versteg's mind, or Mike Versteg's time. It took 10 minutes. That's all. So the reality is that Twitter has an incredible opportunity to be able to connect with people and to be able to really get them. And these Twitter demographics are a little bit old, but I threw them up here real quick to show you that basically the majority of the users are over 35. The average age is usually somewhere around the 38 to 40 range. It is being driven by Generation X, not Generation Y. College students are actually 12% less likely to tweet, and the people that are in Generation X spend more time on Twitter than any other part of the population. It's a business tool. Are there people on there that are talking about what they had for coffee? Yes. Do I care? No. Twitter is not a permission-based system. That's the first thing that you need to get over. The second one is the terminology. If you come back at 1:30, I will be glad to talk in great detail about the terminology. And I'll also talk about these phases that I have gone through personally and that I've witnessed others going through. And you might know that the first one that I was at for about 3 months is I signed up, thought it was the stupidest fad I ever saw, had no idea why these people were all talking garbage in this weird language that I didn't understand. I started tweeting out weekly food facts in January of 2009. The day that the LA Times food section started following me and retweeting my food facts was the day I decided that perhaps there might be a little business value to Twitter. All right, so the key thing, if you're unable to come back at 1:30, that I want to be sure that I leave you with, if you are on Twitter, if you are even remotely interested in Twitter, I'm a speaker who can't speak, you need a management tool. I highly recommend TweetDeck. As Dan Tolan at Ohio Farm Bureau likes to say, it is air traffic control. Download TweetDeck. It's Adobe Air application. It updates automatically, and it allows you to be able to set specific columns and searches. Hootsuite is also very good if you need to schedule. If you're on a BlackBerry, the BlackBerry users recommend Uber Twitter. And if you're on an iPhone, TweetDeck or Tweety works extraordinarily well. The challenge with Twitter and measuring the conversation about Twitter is that the majority of tweets are sent from third-party applications. If you look down at this pie chart right here, web is when people are actually going to twitter.com. All of these others are third-party applications. So this conversation is all happening off of Twitter, yet through Twitter, if that makes sense. I will pause and ask if there are any quick questions, very quick questions about Twitter. Okay. All right, we are good then. I'm going to, real quickly, I want to go to YouTube, and then I will tell you that I do have information about LinkedIn. If you have questions about that, you can see me afterwards because we are officially out of time. So let me just pull up here. YouTube, you need to understand that there are actually 20 hours of video uploaded every minute of every single day. The increase that we are seeing in animal rights videos and environmentalism, and again, I've been tracking these at my company for a year, they consistently increase 30% a month. Do we really need to have a conversation about the impact of those images on those videos? I don't think so. You all know about it. I had mentioned the dairy farmer in Alabama, that likes to sing on his tractor. And again, I will remind you if you weren't here earlier, he does not have a high-speed internet access. He has a smartphone that he shoots the video from. He uploads it via his smartphone, and he does it while he's spreading manure. And I'm going to share real quickly how simple this is.
In an eco-friendly way, yes, that's how we like to play. Dairy farmers know how to manage their water and food. Now out in pasture is where our cows typically reside, but we have to catch what they drop when they're inside, so we've got traps to collect. So,
was that really high-tech and complicated? Was that done in an environment that you all live and work in? Now, yes, it takes a special personality. I'm not asking you to sing, folks, and I'm not asking you to get on your tractor and do this. I am asking you to be a part of the conversation. At the end of the day, that's what social media is about. It's about the conversation. It's about the community. My challenge to you guys is basically thinking about where you want to go. I've tried to give you all sorts of tips. I really would like to ask each of you and challenge each of you to get on one tool. I don't care if it's Twitter, if it's LinkedIn, if it's Facebook, or if it's YouTube. Get on one tool. The resources that I gave you should give you a lot of help to do that and figure out what the roadmap is that makes sense. And please keep in mind that it's really not just about you. It's about future generations of agriculturalists. And I use this quote. If you've ever heard me speak, you have seen me use this proverb because I integrate it in all of my presentation. I think it sums up both the beauty of the opportunity for our business as well as the greatest challenge that we have. We spend a whole lot of time talking about our hogs, our corn, and our beans. We spend very little time talking about people. The fact of the matter is we're in the people business. And as this so eloquently says, that if you want 1 year of prosperity, you can grow grain, you can grow bean, you can grow corn. If you want 10 years of prosperity, you can grow trees. If you're out in California, you can grow almond trees, unless they've slid away in the mud. But if you want a century of prosperity, it's about growing people. And aren't we in the people business? That happens to be my darling daughter up there, and I will tell you that she is the greatest inspiration that I have to do what I do. And I don't know what your inspiration is. I don't need to know what it is, but I do need you to join us in the fight for agriculture to protect our business. And I happen to believe that social media is probably one of the best fighting tools that we have. So I will be glad to hang out here. As I understand it, the room is free afterwards, so I will be up here and you can ask me as many questions and not feel silly asking them in front of other people. And I do really hope to see you at the Twitter session. Twitter is just a phenomenal tool. It just takes more time to explain than 5 minutes.